I noticed my friend acting differently one day. She was always texting late at night and had this secret smile that she didn't share with anyone else. It made my stomach twist because I could tell something was off. When she finally told me about her affair, I felt a weird mix of surprise and sadness. Instead of getting mad right away, I decided to stay calm. I knew I had to be smart about this. I started keeping track of what she was doing, planning the right time to show everyone the truth. I wanted to make sure it was clear how wrong her choices were. As I thought about it, I couldn't help but wonder how everyone would react when they found out what she had done. I used to think my life was perfect, like a storybook. I had a great job, a nice apartment, and a boyfriend named Mark, who seemed just right. He made me laugh, and we talked about our future together. But that was just a lie, hiding something much darker. Then, everything changed when my best friend, Sarah, told me she was seeing Mark. It felt like a punch in the gut. I couldn't believe someone I trusted could hurt me like this. I was angry and sad, spinning in a world where the people I loved were lying to me. "How could you, Sarah?" I shouted, my voice shaky. "You were supposed to be my friend." She looked down, guilt written all over her face. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen." "Did you ever really care?" I shot back, feeling lost and betrayed. I wondered if any of our good times were real or just part of this twisted game. I had to do something. Instead of confronting them right away, I decided to wait. I'd find the perfect moment to expose their lies and take back my life. This betrayal fired me up. I wanted justice. I'd to see the truth behind the pretty lies, no matter how much it hurt. Days went by, and I planned my next move. I could feel the anger bubbling inside me, and I knew I wouldn't let them get away with this. I'd make them face what they'd done. The night came when I finally confronted them. I marched into Mark's apartment, my heart racing. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady, despite the storm inside me. Mark looked up, surprised. "What's wrong?" "Everything," I yelled. "You think I don't know? Sarah told me everything." His face paled. "Wait, I can explain. Save it!" I cut him off. "You both played me for a fool, and now it's time to face the music." What could hurt more than finding out that, when I found out Sarah had betrayed me, it felt like a punch to the stomach. I never thought she'd break the trust that held our friendship together. My head spun with questions. Had I missed the signs? Had to gather my strength. I couldn't let her actions control me. I thought about how her betrayal affected not just me, but Mark too. She'd crossed a line, and it felt like everything had shattered. Rebuilding trust felt impossible. Could I even look at her the same way again? Each day was a struggle, like climbing a steep hill. I wanted to yell at her, to demand answers, but I knew I'd to be patient. Then it hit me. Forgiveness wasn't just a one-time deal. It was a journey, and it needed honesty and real regret. I felt this urge to expose her for what she did, but I knew I needed to wait for the right moment. It wasn't about getting back at her, it was about standing strong and making sure Sarah understood what she'd done. Suddenly, I decided it was time. I called her. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady. "What's wrong?" she asked, pretending nothing was happening. "Everything. You crossed a line, Sarah. You betrayed me." I couldn't hold back. Her eyes widened. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "Then, why did you do it?" I shot back, my anger bubbling. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I could see the fear in her eyes. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. "You need to understand how serious this is. Friendship is built on trust, and you broke that." As I got ready to face Sarah, a strange calm washed over me. It was like the quiet before a big storm. My heart raced, but I'd to keep my cool. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. I couldn't let my feelings mess things up. I'd to be smart, sharp, and ready to show her the truth. Every day, I watched Sarah and Mark. Their laughter felt like a dagger in my heart. I felt hurt and angry, but I held it all in. If I jumped in too soon, I might blow my chance. I needed the perfect moment to reveal their lies and show Sarah what she'd done. Those weeks felt like forever. I was like a volcano, ready to erupt. I wrote down my thoughts to remind myself why I'd to confront her. I wasn't just doing this for me, it was about what's right. Friends don't betray each other, and I wouldn't let this betrayal slide. I practiced my words, making sure to steady my voice. I pictured the showdown in my mind. Sarah had to face the music for her choices. That calm before the storm gave me clarity and made me stronger. Soon, the truth would come out, and everything would change. As I stood there, ready to speak, I felt a mix of determination and anger. "Sarah, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady. She looked at me, surprise flickering in her eyes, but I pressed on. "You think it's okay to laugh with Mark while you stab me in the back? You need to own up to what you've done." Her face turned pale. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she cried, but I wasn't backing down. "Save it! You chose this path. Now it's time to face the consequences." I was determined to find the truth, and I knew I needed proof to confront Sarah and Mark. Anger bubbled inside me, mixed with a deep sense of desperation. I couldn't just walk up to them and make accusations. I needed solid evidence to back me up. I'd to be smart about this. Every day, I watched them from a distance, my heart heavy as I saw their secret moments together. It hurt like a punch in the gut. I took notes on when and where they met, feeling like a detective on a mission. I snapped photos of their laughter, each click of the camera stinging my heart like a fresh wound. As I gathered evidence, I realized it wasn't just about catching them, it was about revealing the betrayal that shattered my trust. Each picture I took dug into my feelings of hurt and anger. It felt like I was fighting a silent battle against two people I once called friends. Then came the night I decided to follow them. I sat in my car, my heart racing as I watched the life I thought I knew crumble. I focused on the mission, reminding myself that the truth had to come out. I'd to keep my emotions in check. Gathering proof was my way to take back control. I felt like I was stuck in a nightmare. Betrayal hit me hard, like a wave crashing down. I never thought my best friend Sarah and the guy I trusted, Mark, would turn on me. Their lies hurt more than I could ever imagine, leaving me with deep wounds that wouldn't heal. Every day felt like a battle. I questioned everyone, even myself. How did I not see the signs? Waking up was tough. I felt the weight of their betrayal, dragging me down. Memories of their laughter echoed in my head, making it hard to think about anything else. I needed to find a way to cope, so I started writing in a journal. It felt like a small step to put my broken trust back together. Rebuilding. Trust felt impossible, like climbing a mountain. I knew I needed friends who understood my pain. As I walked through this mess of emotions, I discovered new ways to handle it. Yoga and meditation became my escape, giving me brief moments of calm in the storm. But the scars didn't fade. Just when I thought I was getting better, anger and sadness would hit me like a punch. I learned that healing isn't a straight path, and that's okay. Moving on meant facing the hurt and finding strength in feeling weak. One night, I confronted Sarah. "Why did you do it?" I shouted, my heart racing. She looked away, guilt written all over her face. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she mumbled. "Not just me. You hurt us all." I felt the fire inside me. Mark stood there, silent, and I realized that their betrayal was more than just lies. It was a toxic love that twisted everything we had. The role of a detective in my life became super important during this messy time. I'd to use my detective skills to figure out the messy betrayal around me. Every day, I watched Mark and Sarah closely, trying to understand their hidden motives. Trust issues started to mess with my head, making me doubt every word they said. I was no longer just a friend. I was an eagle-eyed observer. I took notes on their meetings and kept track of where they went. I'd to be tough and not let my emotions take control while facing the ugly truth of their affair. I needed to stay sharp, even when sadness threatened to pull me under. Each new piece of information hurt more, showing how Mark had twisted our lives with his lies. As I collected proof, I realized this was bigger than just me. Their betrayal crossed the line of friendship, and it hurt. The pain echoed in my chest, pushing me to expose them. I had to understand their relationship completely, like a puzzle that needed solving. In this dark time, I grew from a sad friend to a fierce investigator. I knew the truth had to come out, even if it meant facing the people I once trusted. I was ready to confront them, and nothing would stop me from seeking justice for the pain they caused. "Why did you do this?" I shouted at Mark one night, my heart racing. His eyes widened, and for a moment I saw fear. He stammered, "I didn't mean for it to happen." "Didn't mean for it to happen?" I snapped back. "You knew exactly what you were doing." Sarah stood silently, looking guilty. I could see the truth in her eyes, and it fueled my determination. With a deep breath, I pressed on. "You both hurt me. This isn't just a mistake, it's betrayal, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows." My heart pounded with anger and sadness. Everything I loved was falling apart. I felt trapped. Sarah and Mark, my best friends, had turned on me, and it hurt like crazy. Each day was a battle with trust issues that suddenly popped up. I used to think our friendship was solid, but now it felt broken. I couldn't help but imagine getting back at them. I pictured the moment I'd reveal their lies, but deep down, I wondered if that would really help. I tried to cope. Sometimes I wrote in my journal, pouring out my feelings, and other times I talked to friends who'd no idea what was going on. But as the days passed, the warning signs I'd ignored grew bigger in my mind. I felt a huge sense of loss. It was like losing two people at once, my best friend and the love I thought I shared. I needed to think straight in all this confusion. Should I confront them now or wait? Every choice felt heavy, and I just wanted to feel better. I wanted to escape this darkness and take back my life, but it felt like a weight was crushing me. I was lost, but I knew I'd to push through. "Why would you do this to me?" I shouted at Sarah one day, my voice shaking with hurt. "It's not what you think," she cried, her eyes wide with panic. While I simmered in my anger, plotting my next move, everything changed with an unexpected encounter. I was still reeling from Sarah's betrayal when I spotted a woman sitting alone in the cafe. Her eyes locked onto mine, full of curiosity and concern. I didn't know her, but something about her pulled me in. She stood up and walked over, introducing herself as Jenna. "I know what's happening with Sarah and Mark," she said, her voice low and urgent. I nearly choked. How much did she know? Jenna shared that she'd dated Mark before and warned me that he was charming but dangerous. A flicker of hope sparked within me. Maybe this stranger understood my pain. We dove into our stories, and I quickly learned that Jenna had her reasons for wanting to expose Mark. Her hidden motives felt like mine. I realized we could team up. Together, we could gather proof and confront them. As we planned, urgency filled the air. I felt empowered, no longer alone in this fight. Jenna and I were bound by betrayal, ready to take down the person who'd wrecked our lives. For the first time since Sarah's confession, I saw a way forward. This encounter had ignited a fire inside me to seek the truth and reclaim my life. "Let's do this," I said, determination in my voice. Jenna nodded, her eyes fierce. We were ready to face the darkness together. Jenna's words hit me like a punch. She and Mark had dated before? My head spun. Anger bubbled up inside me. How could he do this? I felt betrayed, but Jenna wasn't here to hurt me. She wanted to help. "Mark's charming," she said, her voice steady, "but he leaves broken hearts everywhere." Suddenly, everything made sense. I thought I was in love, but Jenna showed me the truth. Mark wasn't the prince I'd imagined. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I was just another victim. It was time to wake up and face the reality that had been hiding behind his sweet smile. "Thank you for telling me," I said, my voice shaky but determined. "I need to know more. We can't let him keep hurting people." Jenna nodded, her eyes fierce. "We can gather proof. Together, we can stop him." Her strength sparked something in me. I couldn't just sit back anymore. I'd to fight. I wouldn't let Mark's charm trap me any longer. With Jenna by my side, I felt ready to take action. "Let's do this," I declared. We were on a mission now, fueled by anger and determination. We'd dig deep, uncover the truth, and expose Mark for who he really was. "Are you with me?" I asked, looking Jenna straight in the eye. "Always," she replied. Mark's charm was like a magic trick, drawing me in with every smile. At first, it felt nice, like a big, warm hug, but I didn't see the tricks hidden behind it. He made me feel special, but under that charm was a tangled mess of lies and mind games. "You're amazing," he'd say, looking right at me like I was the only one that mattered. It made me smile, but now I know it was all a part of his plan. Whenever I asked him a question, he'd twist my words, making me feel like I was the one in the wrong. I started to doubt myself. Was I imagining things? I'd ask. He just shrugged, and I felt lost. His charm was like a hunter's trap, and I was, the unsuspecting prey. One minute he'd make me feel loved, and the next I'd feel like I didn't matter at all. I got so caught up in his games that I forgot who I really was. How did I let him fool me? When I saw him laughing with Sarah, it hit me hard. I wasn't the only one he tricked. A fire of anger sparked inside me. I'd to show everyone the truth about him. No one else should go through the hurt I did. My anger burned bright after Mark betrayed me. I was determined to find the truth, and creating a timeline was my plan. I needed to see everything clearly, and every detail mattered. I started writing down dates and places whenever I saw Mark and her together. Each sighting added to my timeline, showing their lies. I noted the restaurant, where they laughed, the times they whispered, and the secret glances that shattered my heart. This wasn't just about getting back at them, it was about understanding what really happened. Then, I began collecting evidence. I took out my phone and snapped pictures whenever I could. Each click felt like a small win, capturing their closeness. These photos were pieces of a puzzle, making my case stronger. I also called Jenna, who knew more about Mark. Her stories filled in the blanks, making my timeline even clearer. As I built this timeline, I felt a storm of emotions: anger, sadness, and a fierce determination. I wasn't going to let their betrayal slide. Each entry brought me closer to the truth. It was a powerful weapon, something I could use to confront them. I could almost hear my heart pounding at the thought of exposing their lies. I knew the moment. To reveal everything would come, and I'd to be ready. "Why would you do this to me, Mark?" I imagined myself asking, ready to face him. I was prepared to take that step when the time was right. As I dug deeper into the messy lies about my relationship with Mark, I saw the power struggle I'd unknowingly joined. I thought I was in charge, but Mark's charm hid his sneaky tricks. I was just a piece on his game board, watching as he played with my trust. My boundaries started to fall apart. Every shocking thing I learned about Mark and Sarah chipped away at who I thought I was. I asked myself, did I ever really know him? Or had he just made up a fake version of himself to win me over? Trust issues flooded my mind, leaving me feeling lost and scared. Mark had a way of twisting everything. It made me feel weak and small. I realized he liked creating chaos, keeping me on edge and too scared to call him out. My thoughts raced as I tried to figure out the truth. I'd to break free from his hold and take back my power. I wouldn't let him control my feelings or my life anymore. It was time to change the game. No more being the victim. I'd be the one to reveal the truth. I wouldn't let his tricks define our relationship any longer. This power struggle would end, and I'd reclaim my life. The thought lit a fire in me, pushing me to confront Mark and Sarah once and for all. "Mark, we need to talk," I shouted, my heart pounding. He turned, a smug smile on his face. "What's wrong, babe? You look upset," he said, feigning innocence. "Cut the act. I know about Sarah," I shot back, glaring at him. His smile vanished, replaced by a flash of anger. "You shouldn't believe everything you hear." "Oh, really? Then why do I keep finding out the truth from others?" I pressed, feeling my strength grow. He stepped closer, trying to intimidate me. "You think you can take me on? You're nothing without me." But I stood my ground. "No, Mark, I'm stronger than you think. I won't be your pawn anymore." His expression shifted, surprise flickering in his eyes. "You're making a big mistake." "Maybe, but it's my mistake to make," I replied, ready to take back control. I felt a fire in my chest, but I knew I couldn't take down Mark alone. I needed help, someone who got the messy friendship stuff and had been hurt too. That's when I met Jenna. She knew all about Mark's past, and that made my plan even more urgent. We quickly teamed up. Jenna opened up about how Mark had twisted her feelings. It hit me hard. I wasn't the only one he'd messed with. This shared pain made us stronger. We weren't just victims, we were ready to fight back. We spent nights gathering proof, connecting the dots of Mark's lies. Every little detail counted. Anger bubbled inside me, but with Jenna there, I felt powerful. We plotted our moves, figuring out how to expose him without getting hurt ourselves. Each day, the weight of our mission pressed down on me. I wasn't just standing up for myself, I was fighting for Jenna and everyone else Mark had trampled. This wasn't just revenge, it was about taking back our lives. I turned my hurt into action, and with Jenna by my side, I was ready to face Mark. His days of playing us were numbered. Together, we were going to reveal the dark truth, and I was finally going to find my voice. "Let's do this," Jenna said, her eyes fierce. "Yeah," I replied, a grin breaking through my anger. No more hiding. Revenge was like a fire inside me, hot and wild. I knew I was diving into a dark place, where my desire for revenge twisted my thoughts. I couldn't stop thinking about Sarah and Mark. The idea of revealing their secrets filled my mind like a storm. Imagining their shocked faces made me feel powerful, but deep down I worried. Would this really make me happy, or would it just hurt me more? As I gathered proof of their betrayal, I realized that revenge isn't just a quick thrill. It sticks around, haunting you long after you've acted. I wasn't just aiming to hurt them, I was putting my own peace at risk. Every time I saw them together, my anger bubbled up, but sadness crept in too. I wanted to take back my power, to show them how they'd wronged me. But once I let the truth out, there'd be no going back. Is this really what you want? I asked myself. I was torn between wanting justice and wanting revenge. Would exposing them fix my broken heart, or would it just leave more scars? The excitement bubbled inside me, but so did fear. I stood at a crossroads. Revenge could make me feel free, or it could ruin me. Just do it. I could hear a voice in my head, pushing me forward. But another part whispered, think about what happens next. I clenched my fists, feeling the weight of my choice. I hid my anger behind a fake smile. Every day felt like a show, and I was the lead actress. I walked around pretending to be happy, greeting Sarah like everything was fine. "Hey, Sarah, how was your weekend?" I asked, forcing my voice to sound cheerful. "Great. Mark and I went hiking," she said, her eyes sparkling. Inside, I was screaming. How could she not know? How could she be so clueless? I wanted to shout the truth about her and Mark, but I kept my mouth shut. It felt wrong to hide my feelings, but I'd to keep up the act. It was tiring. I laughed at her stories, but every word felt like a stab in my heart. Each time she mentioned Mark, I felt like I was choking. I practiced what I'd say when I finally confronted them. I stood in front of the mirror, rehearsing my calm voice. "Sarah, we need to talk," I'd say, and then drop the bombshell. The more I pretended, the angrier I became. I was like a tightly wound spring, ready to snap. I watched Sarah, who seemed completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I wanted to catch her and Mark off guard, to show them what their betrayal felt like. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked, one day, tilting her head. I smiled wider, making my eyes bright. "Of course, just busy with school," I said, but my heart raced with the secret I held. I planned the confrontation carefully. My heart raced with excitement and fear. I'd to hit Sarah hard with the truth about her betrayal. She needed to know how much she'd hurt me. "Hey, Sarah, let's hang out at my place," I texted her, putting on a friendly face. I wanted her to walk in without a clue about the storm coming her way. It made me feel powerful. I practiced what I'd say when she arrived. I'd to tell her everything about her affair with Mark. Once she came in, I wanted her to feel the pain she'd caused. I'd pictures, proof of her lies. I could see her face going pale as she realized I knew everything. The thought thrilled me, but a part of me was scared. What if I broke down? What if I couldn't handle how I felt? I arranged my living room perfectly, cozy and welcoming. I didn't want her to suspect anything until the moment was right. This is about justice, I reminded myself. I couldn't let her see my hurt until she felt the weight of her actions. When the door opened, my heart raced. "Hey, Sarah," I greeted, her forcing a smile. "Come in." She stepped inside, blissfully unaware of the trap I'd set. As we sat down, I took a deep breath. "So, I found out something about you. And Mark," I said, my voice steady. Her expression shifted, confusion flickering in her eyes. "What are you talking about?" she asked, but I could see the tension building in her shoulders. I pulled out the photos, holding them like weapons. "You really thought I wouldn't find out?" I shot back, my voice cold. "You betrayed me, Sarah." Her face went white as she gasped. I can explain." "No more lies," I shouted, cutting her off. "You need to understand how you've shattered my trust. This isn't just a mistake, it's betrayal." What would it take for Sarah to really get how deep her betrayal cut? I knew this was the moment I'd been waiting for. Sitting across from her in my apartment, my heart pounded like a drum. I wanted her to feel the weight of her choices, the big decisions that brought us to this point. "Sarah, we need to talk about Mark," I said, keeping my voice steady. Confusion flashed on her face. She'd no clue what was coming. I pulled out my phone, my hands shaking a little, and showed her the photos I'd taken of her and Mark. Each picture showed their laughter, their closeness, the betrayal that broke my heart. Her face went pale as it sank in. "Leah, I can explain," she blurted out, panic creeping into her voice. But I didn't want to hear her excuses. I needed her to face the truth. I needed to let out the pain she caused me. "Explain what?" I shot back, my voice strong. "How you hurt not just your boyfriend, but your best friend?" I felt powerful for the first time. I'd waited for this moment, and now it was finally here. I could see the shock in her eyes, and for once I felt in control. This was it. The moment everything changed. I was ready for whatever happened next. Shock hit Sarah like a punch. Her face went pale, and I could see the truth of her betrayal sinking in. She stared at the photos I'd shown her, her heart racing just like mine. "Leah, I can explain," she stuttered, panic edging her voice. "No, Sarah, you can't," I shot back. Her excuses felt weak, like they were made of paper. "It didn't mean anything," she insisted, but guilt flickered in her eyes. I watched as her shock turned into regret, the weight of her choices crashing down like a wave. "Mark and I—" "It just happened," she said, her voice shaking. But I could see right through her words, empty and hollow. She was realizing just how much she'd destroyed our friendship for a silly moment of passion. Anger bubbled inside me, but I forced myself to stay calm. I wanted her to feel every bit of the heartbreak she'd caused. "You betrayed me, Sarah," I said, my voice steady. Tears filled her eyes, and I knew she was finally facing the truth. In that moment, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. This was the reaction I expected, but it didn't fill the emptiness inside me. The storm of emotions was just beginning, and I couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get even messier. The moment Sarah's betrayal hit me, it felt like a punch in the gut. My apartment, usually a safe space, buzzed with tension. I thought revealing her secret would help me feel better, but it only made things worse. Our friendship twisted into something unrecognizable, and I could sense the gap widening between us. Days dragged on, and I knew I'd to turn the focus back to me. Rebuilding trust felt like climbing a mountain, but I was determined. Each day became a small step in my journey to heal. The hurt pushed me to forgive, not just Sarah, but also myself. I realized that sometimes pain can spark growth. I dove into figuring out who I was, reminding myself that I was worth more than this mess. I refused to let her actions dictate my future relationships. I wanted to be stronger, not bitter. I spent time with friends who lifted me up, laughing and creating real connections again. Slowly, I felt the weight on my chest lighten. I realized that while Sarah had done me wrong, I still had control over my life. Moving forward didn't mean I'd forget, it meant I'd learn. I could take back my trust and my heart. I was ready for whatever came next, knowing I'd grown from this. Betrayal. Life was about bouncing back, and I was set on rising above the darkness. Watch out, world, I thought. I'm coming back stronger than ever. I thought exposing Sarah and Mark would make everything better, but it only made things worse. When I told everyone about their affair, I felt a quick rush of relief. But that feeling vanished fast. Sarah was crushed, and Mark was furious. I knew there would be backlash, but I never imagined how deep their betrayal would cut into my life. Friends I thought would stand by me suddenly took sides. I lost people I cared about. Whispers followed me everywhere, and I felt completely alone. I'd unleashed chaos without thinking it through. I wanted revenge, but now everything was a jumbled mess. I was stuck in a whirlwind of anger and confusion. It wasn't just Sarah and Mark I lost trust in myself. Sleepless nights were filled with doubt. Was it worth it to expose them? Did I really want to hurt people I once loved? As the chaos settled around me, I felt the weight of betrayal crashing down. Finding closure wasn't just about facing the hurt, it was about looking in the mirror and seeing my part in this mess. I'd to step up and heal, but it wouldn't be easy. My trust was shattered, not just by Sarah, but by Mark too. I felt anger boil inside me, and sadness wrapped around my heart like a noose. "Why would you do this to me?" I shouted, confronting Sarah one last time. Her eyes flickered with guilt, but it didn't change the fact that she'd betrayed me. I knew emotional healing was my only way forward. It felt like trying to climb a mountain with rocks in my shoes. Rebuilding relationships was a daunting task, especially with Sarah. Trust is fragile, I thought, and it felt impossible to piece it back together. But I couldn't let their betrayal define who I was. I'd to fight back. So, I embarked on my journey of forgiveness. It wasn't about letting them off the hook. It was about freeing myself from the chains of anger. I can't keep carrying this weight, I told myself. Some friendships were toxic, and I learned to cut the bad ones out. Each day was a battle. Some days I felt strong, other days I felt crushed. But I was determined to build my emotional resilience. I got my journal and poured my thoughts onto the pages like a storm breaking loose. I talked with friends who supported me, each conversation a stepping stone toward healing. Healing was a slow process. I'd to accept what happened and face my pain head on. "I won't let this destroy me," I declared, pushing myself to take small steps every day. With every word I wrote and every conversation I had, I moved closer to a brighter future. Closure wasn't just about an ending, it was about a new beginning. I was ready to rediscover who I was, and nothing, especially not there. Betrayal would hold me back. Betrayal hits hard. It shakes your world and leaves you spinning. When my best friend and boyfriend teamed up against me, everything crumbled. "How could you?" I shouted, feeling my heart race. Trust? Gone in an instant. I felt like I was in a dark tunnel, lost and alone. My mind raced with questions. Who can I trust now? I had to dig deep and figure out what went wrong. It hurt, but I forced myself to face the truth. They'd deceived me, and I couldn't just ignore that. As I picked up the pieces, I realized I needed to focus on myself. I must heal, I told myself, determined. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I had to take it one step at a time. Facing the pain was tough, but ignoring it was even tougher. I had to feel it to move on. Rebuilding trust became my mission. Trust is like glass, I reminded myself. It can break easily. I had to be careful with who I let into my life next. Protecting my heart was my new priority. Through all this chaos, I found something valuable: strength. I stood a little taller, knowing my worth. Betrayal can break you, but it can also make you stronger. I won't let this define me, I vowed. Moving on from the mess that was my past, I knew I had to take back my life. Sarah and Mark had betrayed me, leaving me in pieces, but I couldn't let their actions control me anymore. I had to heal, and that meant embracing change. I focused on building my strength, learning how to handle my emotions instead of letting them pull me under. I began to ask myself hard questions. What do I really want? And do I even believe in myself anymore? I knew I needed to find ways to cope with everything crashing around me. Setting boundaries became my armor. I realized I'd the right to guard my heart. I stopped answering Sarah's calls and kept my distance from Mark. With each day, I started to trust myself again. I found a spark within that I didn't know I had. I wanted to grow, to rediscover who I was without their shadows hanging over me. I picked up new hobbies and surrounded myself with friends who lifted me up, who made me laugh. Every day became a choice to move forward, even when it felt heavy. I learned that healing doesn't happen in a straight line. It's messy and complicated. But I was determined. I wanted to come out of this stronger and wiser. Yes, I lost a friend and a partner, but I refused to lose myself. I was taking back my life, and this was just the start. "Hey, you okay?" my friend Jess asked one day, noticing the weight in my eyes. "Yeah, just figuring things out," I replied, forcing a smile. "Let's go do something fun," she said, pulling me toward the door. "I'm in," I said, feeling the excitement bubble up. Trust is like a glass. It can break in an instant. I thought my friendships and my relationship were solid, but then Sarah dropped the bomb. "I'm with Mark," she said, her voice cold. My heart sank. Betrayal hit me hard, and everything I believed crumbled. "How could you?" I shouted. Anger bubbled inside me. I felt like a fool for trusting them both. I always thought honesty was important, but now it felt like a joke. "You were supposed to be my friend." I couldn't believe Sarah's lies, and my heart ached with sadness. I paced back and forth, trying to think straight. Should I tell everyone? The idea of exposing them twisted my stomach. I felt torn. Part of me wanted revenge, but another part just wanted to escape the pain. As I prepared to confront them, I realized it wouldn't be easy. How could I ever trust again? Forgiveness seemed impossible. "Sarah, we need to talk," I finally said, my voice steady. I'd to face them. I chose not to let their betrayal control me. "You think this is over? You're wrong." I was ready to fight back, reclaim my power. In that moment, I knew I wouldn't let their lies define me. Trust might be fragile, but I could rebuild myself, stronger than before. I just had to take the first step. As I stood in the wreckage of my broken life, I knew I'd to take action. Healing couldn't wait for Sarah and Mark to apologize. I'd wasted enough time plotting revenge, but now it hit me. I needed to find my own strength. "Why did you do this to me?" I whispered into the empty room, feeling the anger simmer inside. But I knew I couldn't let their betrayal control me anymore. I grabbed my journal. "I am more than their lies," I wrote fiercely. Each word was like a punch, knocking down the walls of their betrayal. Slowly, I felt lighter, like I was finally breaking free. I called up my best friend, Jess. "I need you," I said. She rushed over, her eyes full of understanding. "You deserve better," she told me, and I felt a spark of hope. Together, we took long walks, laughing and talking about everything except Sarah and Mark. I rediscovered my passions: painting, writing, and cooking. With every brushstroke, I fought back against the pain. "Look at this," I exclaimed, showing Jess a colorful canvas. It's me reclaiming my happiness, but the anger still bubbled inside. How could they do this? I shouted one night, slamming my fist on the table. Jess nodded. "It's okay to feel that way, but don't let it eat you alive." I took a deep breath. I needed to let go. "I won't carry this anymore," I declared. It was time to move on, not for Sarah and Mark, but for myself. "Let's clear this out," I said, tossing their pictures into the trash. It felt good. "Goodbye, toxic love," I cheered, feeling the weight lift off my shoulders. Now I was ready for new adventures. "I want to feel joy again," I told Jess. She smiled, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "And you will. Let's find it together." Moving on wouldn't be easy, but I was determined. I wasn't going to forget the past, I was going to grow from it. Each day was a new chance to find my strength and embrace life again.